The storm raged like an untamable monster, leaving the cabin isolated and silent. But what would happen that night in the heart of that storm would change Jack's life forever. You are about to hear a story of survival, courage, and a bond that goes beyond anything you could ever imagine. A story where opening a door is not just an act of kindness, but a decision that can save a life. And now, you won't be able to stop until you find out what happens. It was almost imperceptible, but it was there. A faint scratch. Desperate. Something or someone was out there asking for help. My hand hesitated over the doorknob. Opening the door could bring danger, but the truth was I couldn't turn my back on this. When the door opened, the biting cold rushed in like a punch to the chest. But what I saw wasn't just a storm outside. It was a desperate mother, protecting two fragile pups, almost invisible beneath her thin, ice-covered skin. Her eyes, those eyes, so large and full of despair, locked onto mine. It was more than a plea for help. It was a silent scream, and I knew in that instant my life would never be the same. She trembled, but didn't move. Fear was in her eyes, but there was something more, something that touched my heart in a way I couldn't explain. I knew I couldn't turn my back on them no matter the cost. I crouched down, my voice gentle, trying to ease the fear. "Come on, girl, get in here. You'll freeze to death out there." I knew it wouldn't be easy, but there was something undeniable in that scene, something that pulled me toward them, something that told me this moment, this act of kindness, might be the only chance they had. With the door closed, the storm was muffled, but what I felt inside me now was an even fiercer storm. I knew I could no longer ignore the pain and fear in that mother's eyes. I had found something I didn't know I needed. Purpose. Something to fight for. Something to care about. That night, I was no longer alone. I moved closer to the mother and her pups, now warm and safe. The trust she began to place in me was slow, but incredibly powerful. Every time I approached, I felt the weight of her story in her eyes. Something in her wasn't just survival. It was a battle I too was starting to understand. I looked at her, and for a moment I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. A genuine connection. And I knew, without a doubt, I had to protect them. The connection between us was becoming something I could no longer deny. I looked at her and saw more than a survivor. I saw courage, loyalty, and a silent strength that made me want to protect her. She was starting to trust me. Her pups, so small, but full of life, felt the change too. The bond was slowly being forged, but it was undeniable. And as much as I tried to deny it, I knew my life had changed. As I watched her rest beside her pups, I couldn't help it. I felt a weight in my chest. This wasn't the same cold, distant world I knew. This wasn't the solitary life I had chosen in retirement. Grace and her pups had invaded my heart in a way I couldn't control. It was a new beginning. But I knew something in Grace still wasn't fully healed. She had a past I didn't understand, and I felt that eventually it would come to light. One night, everything changed. I looked out the window, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Grace was agitated, her eyes fixed on the darkness of the forest. Something was out there, something that threatened the peace we had just found, and Grace knew it. She had faced the worst before, but would she be able to face it again? What I didn't know was that Grace's story was just beginning. Where had she really been before she showed up at my door? What had really happened during that storm? And more importantly, who or what was now threatening everything I had sworn to protect? You'll only find out in the next chapter of this story of courage, resilience, and love. Don't miss it. If you don't want to miss the next chapter of this exciting story, Make sure to subscribe now and turn on the bell to stay updated. Share this story with the ones you love. Don't miss the chance to live every moment with Jack, Grace, and her pups. See you soon.